My name's Layla, and I am a developer advocate at VMware, and I do stuff around .NET. I am a Microsoft MVP for DevTech. I think I've been 4 years now an MVP, something like that. I am a GitHub star for 2 years, I think. And I founded the Women of .NET initiative just to try and raise awareness and the wonderful women in our community. I used to be a director on the .NET Foundation as well. I'm going to take this off because I'm clanging. So there are no slides in this talk. So if you want anything from me, you're going to have to go to GitHub over here, Layla-P. This is small on here. I can't zoom in because it's marked down. But Layla-P, all this code will be on there. Layla codes it on Twitch and Twitter, and now on YouTube with the @handle. There's no videos there yet, but they're coming soon. And what we're going to do today in ASP.NET Basics for Experts. Now, this is based if you have come from Framework, you want a refresher, maybe you've come from a different platform, maybe you're a Java developer, something like that, or you just want to learn a little bit more how to do things in a better way in .NET. Okay, so what we're going to look at is top-level statements and minimal hosting model. That came in .NET 6. Global using directives, dependency injection and IOC, minimal APIs, HTTP clients and HTTP client factories, resiliency and circuit breakers, and maybe some other stuff if we have time, but I'm going to tell you now, we won't have time. Okay, because this is going to be jam-packed. So the first thing I'm going to do is, before we can see where we are going with stuff, we need to know where we came from. And when, excuse me, .NET 6 first came out and I did those templates, I did .NET New Web API, I was like, ugh, what's this? Because I don't know about you, but if we look at .NET 5, this was my program. Come zoom in for me, thank you. So remember programs that look like this? Yeah? There's a whole load of usings. Riders helpfully closed it. Wowzers, there's a lot of usings there. And if we go over to startup, again, even more using statements. And this is where I live. This is where I put everything in, all my services. Everything was nice and tidy. I was very attached to the startup. I put it in to my Azure functions. I was putting it in console apps. Anywhere you could put a startup, I was putting it there to manage everything. So that's what we had. Now, what happened with .NET 6? If I go over here, let's make a new directory called temp, cd into temp, and let me make that bigger for you. It's this one. I've got so many shortcut things on here. Okay, so we have .NET New, and if we do a web API, then we do minimal, we're going to get minimal hosting next, sure. And then if we open that, we can have a quick look at what we get now and why I was horrified when I first started with .NET 6. Come on, computer. Thank you, eventually. Okay, so let's make this bigger. That is definitely a word. And first thing we notice is that, well, there's no startup. So let's go in here and have a look. Oh, it's because it did an update. Go away. And this looks very, very different from that program file, that startup file, all really different. That's because we have top-level statements. And we don't have program, we don't have main, and that's because everything's been made static so we can get straight into this. So we have our web application builder, and that should, if I go this way, let's just move this over here so we can do easier swiping. If we have a look here, that is the same as the configure services type thing. Okay, that's where we're adding our services and our IOC containers. So if we come down here, I'll make this a little bit bigger. Let's get that out the way. And we can come, oh, maybe not that big. Let's go out a little. And So we can add our services here. This is still iService collection. And then we can build our app. Now we have a web application in here. And we can start to add middleware and do other things. And then if we scroll down here, you can see we've got the new minimal APIs. So you've probably heard a lot about minimal APIs. Maybe you haven't. But all of this is to get rid of a lot of ceremony. And when you come to .NET as a beginner or someone who's come from another programming language, all of the ceremony that we have in this setup can be quite daunting. And there's a lot of convention. I mean, there's still a lot of convention, but this is supposed to be a lot more streamlined for folks. And if you've ever used Express.js, which is the Node server, this may look a lot more familiar to you. So I came in here and I was like, okay, I hate it. I hate it. And then I started to use it, started to organize it, and I'm going to show you how I did that, and I now really love it. It's much easier to manage, and all of that ceremony is gone. All right. So we've got that, but this isn't very interesting. It's just the template. You could have opened that and had a look yourselves. So let's go to one I built earlier. And if I go over here, this application here, if you want to clone it and play with it, it's got all the data structures in there. It's got migrations, so you can run your migrations, get going with it, and have a play, and do your own sort of fiddling around with it. Okay. Now, I know you've just had lunch, but I am a big fan of waffles, okay? And any kind of food demo whatsoever. So all of my demos are always generally around food. So this one is about waffles. So I hope you're in the mood for some waffles and you're not going, oh my goodness, I ate too much curry, and no. But let's go in here and have a look at the program file. And you can come, there's a lot of notes in here. So I still have some using statements, but not that many. And that's because if I go in and have a look at my CS proj, somewhere in here, I have this implicit usings. Now let me just make sure that's big enough. And that means that when I get my application and I make a template, it's going to come with the most common NuGet packages and libraries that my application based on the type is going to want to have. And it puts them in there. And you don't kind of know where they are, and you may think, oh, I really would much rather know where they all are. So you can disable that, and that's fine. And you can also extend your implicit usings. So I reckon, if I go up to the top, we're probably going to use something like system.text.json and other places. So let's add that to the global usings. Now I'm going to just get rid of this. And I'm going to cut that. And I'm going to, see, I'm going to get some squiggles now. And you can add a new class. It needs to be a CS file. It can be called whatever you like, but I'm going to call it global usings, just because I like things to be named kind of well. And I'm going to just get rid of all of that. And what I'm going to do is paste that in. You can see it's still not happy because we need this keyword. You can see now all the red squiggles up there on the left-hand side have gone, and everything is happy. And now system.text.json is available throughout my entire application. But that is globally scoped. And we want to make sure that we're scoping in a correct fashion, because maybe you don't want to scope all your data entities globally. So just think about it. Don't go and global everything, because you'll then have to do aliases, and then you might have things available where you don't want them available. So just use it sensibly and don't go through and do everything. So that's global usings, and they do tidy up your code a lot. I mean, I could stick all of these in if I wanted those everywhere. Okay, let me just close this so we have a bit more screen space. And so we can come down here. We've got our builder, and that is our web application builder. Excuse me. And now, something that you don't get on the template is this configuration. And if we go, I always do that, it's here on a tab. You can see that we're getting the configuration here in .NET 5 and older versions, but now here I have to explicitly go and pull it out and start adding things. You did have to add these things in the old way, but it's more fluent now, and I just think quite nice. So you can add your JSON file, your environment variables, you can add your user secrets, I still have those in here, and then your command line arguments, and then you build it, and then that is available to you. So you can start adding those. And yes, I have controllers. You can still have controllers with minimal APIs. I'm just going to move this. Could you mute me for 1 second? I was too quick, wasn't I? You can unmute me now. I apologize for blowing your eardrums out with my cough. Okay, so then I have some open API stuff down here, and so we're going to see that in action later. That just comes with the template, and then we come down here. Now, I have some services ready in here, and you can see they're over here on the side here. I've got lots of different services, and I have an API that uses them. So if we come down here, you can see I have a minimal API, and this is what they are. They're HTTP verbs, so this one's a GET. This is the endpoint, and then it's an anonymous function here, and you can do that. So I'm newing up a HTTP client, I'm newing up a waffle ingredient service, and all of this. So well, this looks horrible. I hate it, but I'm going to show you. Let's go and run and make sure that that all works. So we can see here this is OpenAPI. Our controller ones are going to be here, and I didn't want you to open. You can see those are off the controller, all the endpoints there. And then this one, which is off the main namespace, is going to be our minimal API. So if we come and try that out, we'll execute. And you can see I've gone and got some toppings, and that all works. But as I said, I hated it. Okay, we don't really want that, because this is all closely coupled. We want to open up our decouple everything and add these as dependencies. So let's go and well, let's start making that happen. So if we come up here, I'm going to start adding my dependencies here. So we go builder.services.add, and let's go HTTP client. That deals with the very first one, and we can come and do that. So we can go and get rid of that line down here. Gone. That's going to make this unhappy. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to get rid of both of these lines. And we're going to come back up here where I was adding that. Let's just drop those down. Okay, so the next one I want to do is this ingredient service. So this one is going to be builder.services.add. Let's go with, I don't know, let's just add it as a singleton. I would have shown you life cycles if we had a longer time. They are in the project, so you can go and show it yourself. We're going to have a waffle ingredient service down here. And there we go, that's another one, so we can get rid of this line. And the last one we want is going to be this one. So we're going to have builder.services.add singleton. And this one actually has an interface. So I'm going to implement this as an interface first. So we've got an iWaffle creation service. And when I ask for that interface, I want to have this implementation. Okay, I do have 2 implementations, and this is going to allow you to choose right here the one that you want rather than going through all of your methods and adding those down. So now that we've done that, we need to go back down to our minimal API and make this available. You can see I've got this WCS, that's the waffle creation service, and it's like, hey, I don't have that. So just like anything else, we can go waffle creation service here, the interface, and I'm going to do WCS. And that is now happy, but let's make sure it's all still working, that our dependency injection, so making those, the application handle those life cycles for us rather than us manually creating them. Makes it more testable, makes it more resilient, you know where things are, and it's just more manageable. You can see that that has worked. Perfect. All right, so let's come back up to the top. And now, I don't know about you, but most of the applications I've worked on have a lot of dependencies, right? And can you imagine how big this program file is going to be if you have, I don't know, 30 dependencies and all your middleware and everything coming in? This is one of the reasons I hated this. I was like, this is one big script file. There's no organization here. It's really hard to maintain and manage. I hate it. But you can manage this in a much nicer way. So, hey, I'm going to get rid of these. And we're going to extend our iService collection. Now, I've half written this already, so it's nice. So we can get more stuff in time. And I've got this thing called add dependencies over here. Now, what I have in here, if I close this, this is actually called like dependency service collection extensions at the moment. It's a public static class. It has to be that. But I don't like this name. You can name it whatever you want, but I've been calling this iService collection extensions because that's what it's doing. And now you can see, hang on, that's not very happy. And that's because I've used that in lots of places. So I've been experimenting with making that a partial class. It's entirely up to you what you call it, how you do it, but that's what I've been doing. And then I'm going to have a public static function method that's going to return iService collection. And this one I'm going to call what I've named the file, add dependencies. And then there we go. So to extend iService collection, we need the keyword this, and then we're going to pass in iService collection, and we're going to call that services. And then just to make sure it's all happy, we're going to return services. Okay. Now we can bring in all of those things that I copied out. And I'm going to come down here, and because this is service collection, I can just get rid of those and add in services. And that all looks happy, but that's still not going to work because we need to go and add this here. So we're going to go builder.services, and then that new extension that we have, and that's that done. It's all gone green, no squiggles. Let's go and run that, make sure that that all works. And you can see it's still working. We've got all of our ingredients. Perfect. I'm happy. All right. So let's just go back into our add dependencies. I want to cover a few things here, a few safety aspects. Makes it sound like we're on a plane, isn't it? Your exits are here and here. But let's go. Okay, so down here, I have this other extension, and this is called marketing dependencies. So maybe you want to group all of your dependencies by functionality or structure, however you want to do it, you can totally do that. And then to use this, you would go add in here. Let's go services dot add that one. And there you go. Now, if we come down here, you can see there's some weird stuff going on in here. Let's just say you have this marketing private dependency. You don't want that globally scoped. You just want that available to your marketing endpoints. You don't want everything to have access to that. Okay, so how are you going to do that? Well, we're going to new it up here, and let's assume that does not use implement iDisposable, because if it does, you're going to have to manage that because the application won't have created it, so it's not going to be able to manage the life cycle of marketing private dependency. Let's assume it doesn't have iDisposable, so we don't need to worry about that. But let's say that marketing endpoints does have something in there that needs to be disposed. Now you may have seen, let's go services dot add singleton, and let's go and say we've got that, and you may just see something like that. Okay. Now the problem with that is because this was created outside of the IOC, the inversion of control container, it has no awareness of the life cycle of your marketing endpoints, and that's really bad. Okay, because that needs iDisposable called on it. So how's the life cycle going to be managed? So if you see this, this is a code smell if something needs to be disposed of. So maybe you've got a client in there, your WebSocket, something like that, that you don't want hanging around. So the way to add this is not like this. We can new it up. Let me go and copy it. And we're going to do that in here. And we're going to call the context. And now it's going to be aware of it. Okay, so you are newing it up in that respect rather than just adding it. Now, the context is aware of that creation. It was created within the context. So now you have that handled, the lifecycle handled for you. Okay, so that's a good practice. If you want to learn more about iDisposable and dependency injection, I strongly suggest you check out stevetalkscode.co.uk, our newest MVP. He got his MVP last week, yay! So Steve Collins is an awesome individual, really knowledgeable. Check out his blog for more information on that. Okay, so that's handled. And just to make sure that that doesn't get us confused, I'm just going to knock that out for now. But that's how you're going to handle things like that. Why are you unhappy? I don't know what's going on here. We'll sort that in a minute. Ugh. Well, no, there we go. It's fine. It's all going to just... It's fine. It's Ryder just being a pain. So we're going to ignore that, and let's go on. Let's close this. Now you can also add your databases in the same respect. So I have an extension of iService collection, and I can add services.addDB context. So we have an extension already for your DBs, and this one is SQL. So you can see I'm using the SQL Server handler there, and then I go and get this from my configuration and my user secrets, etc. But I don't have my config available here, so I need to pass it through. And you can totally do that with your extension. So if we grab that, let's go back to program, and is that down here? You can ignore that one for now. Well, let's just add it. So we have builder.services.add databases, and you see that's going to error because it wants our configuration, which we added up here. So all we have to do is go and grab our builder configuration, which we've set up, and come down here, and we're going to pass that through. And now that's happy, and our configuration goes through to our extension methods. So that's pretty good. But I'm still not best pleased with what's going on in our dependencies. I think we can do better, because we can do different types of HTTP clients. So out of the box, this HTTP client is using HTTP Client Factory. I will get the wrong number of T's, I promise you. And what that does is manages the client, the HTTP client's lifecycle for you. It handles all of your pool of clients, and it's going to make sure that they get disposed of, recycled, that you're not going to get any socket exhaustion or any horrible stuff like that, because this is going to be a high performance application, because everyone wants waffles. So this is handled for you, and we can do better. So let's go. I'm going to get rid of these two. I'm going to attempt to get rid of these two. All right, so, okay, this is now going to break because Waffle Creation Service has a dependency on the Waffle ingredient service. So let's go in here, and I'm going to drop these in. All right, so now we're in a different one, which is called Add Clients and Policies. And let's just make sure that we've added that to the program before we forget. Look, I've already got it there, so you don't have to see me type. And let's go back in here. Now, this is just a generic HTTP client that is available to anything that requests an HTTP client from your IOC container. So we've probably got a request up here. So this is my controller. It's not, but if you had a constructor and you said, hey, give me an HTTP client, that's where it's going to get it from, okay? So that's what's happening there. But we can have different types. We can have a named HTTP client. So if we go services.add HTTP client, not that, we can go in here and we can give it a name. So I don't have the fancy O on here, I'm afraid, so you'll have to suffer with that. And now we can go client, and we can have an expression in here, and we can do like client.base address equals new URI, and then we can have whatever your thing is, HTTP something, And you can add your headers. You can do all of your customization that you need to this specific client. And then if you need that, you're going to go over to your controller, let's say, and then you can request it. So I'm just going to add a little bit here. Public, waffle, whatever you are, order controller. So if you wanted this, you're going to have to order controller. There we go. Okay, so if we're doing this, we're going to have to ask for our HTTP client factory. And you can see it's available there, and I'm just going to call that fac. And then down here, you can go var client. Obviously, you'd want to do a read-only, so it's available, but I'm just going to hack this in. You can go fac.createClient and then pass in that name. And it was Øredev. I said that wrong, I know. Please don't hate me. And then we've got our client. And that will pull it through. It's named, okay? So that's a nice way to do it. But there is a third way that you can do, which is a strongly typed one. What is your problem? Did I forget something? Yes, semicolons. All right, so there's a third one, which is a named HTTP client. And I'm going to get rid of this one. And we're going to come down here, and I'm going to go service dot add HTTP client. You see I've got this generic one with my angle brackets, and I'm going to give that waffle ingredient service. Okay, so now that is what we call strongly typed. It's going to instantiate waffle ingredient service with its HTTP client already in. It's not going to be doing that double thing that we did before. And now this is all managed by the HTTP client factory, and it's just much easier. But there is more that we can do with these. And if we come down, we're going to do some policies. Now, if you've got an application, if this fails now, it's just going to go kaput. So let me just make sure I haven't got anything. If I go and make my API fail, and I should be able to come and do that, and we'll just see that this is going to fail. It's not going to be a nice failure. No. Come in here. Okay. So this is very crude. I'm just going to come in here, and for some reason my comments and uncommenting doesn't work in here, so I have to do it manually. But does that work? No, nothing works. None of my shortcuts work in this, so thanks, Ryder. So let's go and restart the function, which is here. So this should just fail every single time. So if we come back over here, switch here, let's go and run this. And now I'm expecting this to be a big fat failure and no waffle ingredients. So we go and, where did it go? Yeah, here we go. So you can see, can I make that bigger for you? We got an empty list this time. We didn't get any toppings. It just was like, no, didn't work, sorry. So let's go and make that more resilient. And how we can do that is with a whole load of different things. And we're going to use poly. And if I come over to the application that doesn't give me any help at all, we can have a look down here at a circuit breaker. Because I'm going to implement a circuit breaker. And if you don't know what this is, it can be a little bit confusing, but if you've done electronics and you have a circuit here or in your house, you know that a closed circuit is good. If you have the circuit breakers in your house and something overloads, they click off, the circuit is open, no power is going through, and you have to go and flick the switch. Same pattern can be applied to your software. If it's closed, everything is great. Your requests are going through. And let's just say we've got Service A, Service B. Service A is sending requests to Service B. Service B is having a bad day. It's gone, ugh, I don't want any requests. And that's what's happened here. And Service A is still sending them going, I'm not getting a response. And that's not great. So what we can set is a failure threshold. And that's how many failed attempts before the circuit breaker kicks in and opens. So let's say we're going to set it to 3. So our Service A is going to try 3 times to talk to service B, and when it doesn't get through, it's going to open the circuit. And so it's like, okay, something's wrong here. We need to stop sending requests to service B because it's not happy. So then what happens is we wait some time, and then we try again. Now, if it still fails, this is called the half-open stage, when we try one. If that still fails, we go fully open again. If it's successful, service B is obviously back online, and we're sending requests all the way back to it. And then that's closed, and we're off again. So let's go see how we can implement that with Poly. Okie dokie. So we've got our add clients and policies, and what I'm going to do is come down here, and I've dumped them all in here for your enjoyment. So we have several things going on. We've got a fallback policy, a get retry policy, and a circuit breaker. There are some great great blogs on the Twilio blog at the moment talking about all of these and go into them in much more depth. So I suggest you check out those. And what we can have here, fallback is what happens if it all fails? What happens if the circuit breaker's on and this happens and all of that? So you can go and put something in there that's going to happen. Retry is what happens if, a specific error code comes back. So status code. So in the case of not found, we're going to do something, and it will try or do something else. So you can really customize it, and you can do it for each and every API endpoint. And then we have our circuit breaker. So if we get a status code of internal server error, so 500, we're going to try handled events allowed before breaking. So that's our failure threshold, 3. And then we have a time span of 1 minute. And then I've got these things on break, on reset, on half open. So we can do some logging or do things that you need down here on half open, on reset. So you can start to get some information out of your application if it's all failing. That had me worried then. It's okay. You have to be put up with me for a few minutes longer. All right, so we've got all of those there, but how do we add them to our HTTP? So I found this, and I was really happy when I found this wrapper. And you can wrap all of your policies together, which is really nice. So we've got that. So I'm going to capture that name. And all you do is do .add policy handler, and then pass that in. Are you going to let me do that? No. Add policy. I've forgotten. No, don't do this. Add. I'm sure it's policy. It's definitely policy. Oh, is it type? Layla can't remember. No, it did not like that. It's definitely in there. Oh, yes, that's it. I totally thought of that. Thank you. Because normally I do it down here just to alleviate that. I got stressed by the claps. Look, there, thank you for solving my rookie mistake. But that's normal. We're all human. We always have mistakes. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. Things often need to slap you in the face, so I'm not worried. All right, so we've got that now. I've added that policy handler, and I could add that to as many ones as I want. I could have specific ones, handling it in different ways. You can do all the sorts of things that you want on a client-by-client basis. Okay, so the big question is, what happens now? We've got our policy in. And I've left it quite open, so we're going to see what happens if I've done it right. I may have another mistake. Who knows? Let's go. That's what happens when you do it live. So if we come down, you can see that we've got this spinner. And it's spinning, and things happen. But if I come over here, you can see I'm getting error. And then if I come back, it's going to try again. We should see another error come through, I hope. If not, I'll be quicker at doing it. Wait, it stopped trying. So it tried 3 times. And what you can see here is I've left all of this open and unhandled so we can see it. It kick the circuit breaker in. The circuit breaker is now open and is not allowing calls. So we can see it tried 3 times, and I can show you that a little bit better if you like. So if I come and can you please be helpful? I'm going to bring that over here. Oh, gosh, okay, let's sometimes I really hate my Mac. I think it really hates me. Okay, so let's go here. That's the one right, let's go back here. Okay, so here we go, right. So this is all going to be a bit unhappy now because the circuit breaker's open. So I'm just going to stop this, restart, because I want you to see it doing its retries. So let's come back. I'm going to restart that. Let's come down. All right, so we're going to watch this go once I kick this off. So let's go try it out. Oh, I have to kick the execute. So we should error once. Okay, so it's waiting. It's trying again. It's going to wait a little bit longer. And now it's gone again. Still, it's waiting a bit longer. And it failed. Okay, so you can see there it kept trying. And it didn't do that before, it just went, I couldn't get it, so you're not having any topping. So you could handle that now, which is a really nice experience for an end user. Okay, so let's go back and have a quick look. What did I promise you I was going to show you? Because I know we're very tight on time. And if I go into about, let's go down. So we've got all of that. We've got minimal APIs. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's going to be a lightning quick one in 4 minutes. All right. So if we come over here, you can see we tidied up our minimal API down here. We got rid of all of that. It was really nice. But again, just like everything else, this is really horrible to have it in our program. So let's comment that out and save that. And then I have created one earlier of another extension. So we can come in here and have a look at what that looks like. And it's empty, so I need to go and get this. Sometimes I leave that in there. Let's go back to program and grab this. And down there, we can control copy, bring it over. And just like before, you can see we're going to return a web application. I don't know why I'm pointing to this screen. You can't see what I'm pointing to. A web application here. We've got the add APIs, async, and then we're passing through, because we're extending web application, we need the keyword this. All right, now you can check out Instant APIs from Jeff Fritz. That's pretty cool. I've not done much with it because it builds up a whole minimal API platform based on your data entities. And I don't know about you, I don't like exposing my data entities to the surface. I like to have some middle managers like DTOs in there, but you know, each to their own. All right, so you can see I've moved that in here. And that's all good. And then if you wanted to do a post, let's go app.map post. And because this is HTTP verbs, we can go and get the exact same name. And we can pop that in here. And then we can go and do async. And we can have our nice little thingy here. We need that semicolon. But usually when you've got a post, you have some information coming in, don't you? So we still need our iWaffle creation service, WCS. But what about if we have something coming through from the body? And that is going to be, let's say, a waffle order. I'm just going to call that order. And now we can get that just using your data things like from body, your annotations that you use in your controllers. You can use that just the same. And then we can just go var t equals order. And if I put a breakpoint on here, it's going to be the last thing I show you. Let me go and stop, restart. No, we needed a debugging. Let's go and do that again. Hopefully that got that. Oh no, it's going to do it again. Okay. Oh, of course. OK. Thank you, Ryder. Again, let's stop. Stop all. OK. I started 2 instances, obviously. I didn't know I could do that. OK. So now you can see we've got the get and the post. Let's go in here. And you can see this is what it's expecting. And I'm going to just, I don't need to do that. Let's go and try it out. And I'm just going to change some things in here. Waffle. Let's go round, not repound. There we go. So you can see I've changed some things. Let's execute. Why are you doing this to me? Resume. I don't know why it's opened everything up. I so did not want all of you open. I just wanted to hit this. Oh my God. Why is it? Cannot get the value of it. Oh, okay. Have I not done that? Round. Looks fine to me. I'm going to stop this. I've done this demo a lot, but, you know, we'll see. I don't know what its problem is. I'm just going to make that 1. Round. We'll try it again. Please just... No, it's going to have a really... and I'm too tight on time to dig into that. But what you would have seen is that would have bound our model over into our, wherever that was, add API. So we would have seen that bind. I've probably... Oh, I know what it was. No, I don't. I don't know what was wrong with it. It's fine. It's being contrary. We would have seen that bind. So you can do all of that. That doesn't mean, I think, that you should do everything in a minimal API. Think about what you want to build in minimal APIs. Think about what you want more control over in a API controller. And choose the right thing for you. Now, I know that was quite rushed, but you can go and check this out, this thing online. You can grab me and ask me questions afterwards. I'm very happy to answer questions because I know I've not left any time. So with that, just to show you, you can come and find me on Layla-P and get this code. And I want to thank you very much for your time.